Traffic is actually last. The thing that we have to look at is business metrics, business health in both marketing and even just operations. If your shipping is $30 to ship out a $20 item when it's free on Amazon next day, you're not a traffic problem yet. You're a business problem. So we're going to discuss all that here. Yeah.
I've been looking forward to doing this with you for a long time because this is just like, this is the essence of, I think, what obviously the folks that have followed you for years and years. And also we did post this to our Perpetual Traffic Telegram channel, as well as like all our socials like this. I think today we are laying the groundwork for something that's really monumental. And I'm not, I'm not going overboard with the hyperbole here because we're going to be talking about some stuff here today that nobody's talking about in this industry. And I think that's the key thing that brought you and I together way back when we met in that fateful week in Arizona, where like John and I kind of connected and said, hey, what's the next phase in the journey for John Moran? And the next phase was like, hey, I'm looking to transform an industry. I want to grow companies. I want to help build companies in the right way. And that's where you and I really, really bonded back in November. And that eventually became, you coming over and joining Tier 11, obviously fulfilling your obligations with Solutions 8. So I've been looking forward to this day for like 6 months. So everyone who's out there, welcome to Tier 11 Live with John Moran and Ralph Burns. You got to get the front. You got to get top billing. I don't know who the hell put in Ralph Burns and John Moran. But anyway, I'm psyched to get this thing started here. So pumped to be with you.
No, same here. I think it's always been, like you said, it's the essence of what we're trying to do. This is how the sausage is made. And I think this is where, other agencies or other freelancers who maybe are not investing in their education or investing in their own kind of growth in order to be, client-centric, how to help the client. This is a part where I love the kind of duality of the digital marketing. It's the kind of the high sales and mediocre execution. And this, like right now, like I'm not a podcaster. I do marketing, but this is the part where it's so much fun to kind of dive into like the real deep weeds and demystify a lot of what seems to be common sense, which is the weirdest thing. So yeah, it's kind of cool. It's awesome. So hey, Michael, I see you on LinkedIn and YouTube. How's it going?
Awesome.
This is fun stuff. I'm excited, and yeah, we're gonna have a cool format. The format's gonna be kind of like really deep dive, awesome kind of global strategies that are still within the foundation of client-centric and what we call the MPIs. Which is, your NCAC, community efficiency ratio, new versus returning customers, ECPNV, all the good stuff. And it's going to be based off of that, but also kind of, share with what has been happening for the last 6 months, which is massive. I mean, you're talking about attribution overload in opposite directions from people that are using in-app versus third party versus server side versus, there's been such a crazy change since January 4th of this year that, things are you need multiple sources of truth before you can kind of directly get an understanding of what's going on. And so it's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to all this.
Yeah, I think you bring up a good point. Like I think that's one of the things that we really bonded over. It's like, why isn't everybody doing this? And it is common sense, but it's hard to pull off. Like common sense ain't that common is what my dad always used to say. But the point is that what we're talking about here today makes a whole lot of sense. Like, businesses don't hire agencies just to get marketing KPIs. They hire agencies. That's the means and to an end to actually grow the damn business and put more money in the bank account this week than there was last week. And also like measuring that week in and week out and having a plan, even if things don't work out that week, whatever your test is, but having a plan moving forward to achieve the big goal. And the big goal is what you referred to is a lot of different things, what we refer to as MPIs, marketing performance indicators. We actually bought that domain the other day, by the way, and registered it as a trademark, John, just so you know.
That's awesome.
And I
If I
think
ever see anybody using that, I'm hunting you down with a
sorry,
cease and
Mark, I'll
desist
hunt
letter.
you down. The legal team is going to come after you.
I'm going to send
Um,
really, really angry professional letters.
That's right. John owns a lot of guns, by the way, so just be careful. But we're also probably going to do a fair amount of Google bashing and in-app performance bashing on these lives a bit. And those guys that are sitting in the white van across the street from you,
Yeah, right.
it's like, like plumbing company, like those are a bunch of Google people that are still watching your house. So we have to be careful of that. Sam and the kids, we obviously want their safety to be first and foremost here. But no, all kidding aside, we're going to sort of tear down a lot of the things I think that you think or you might be measuring that is sending you astray, but also bringing you back to business basics. And what we've found is that, even this has involved a lot of change inside the internal like Tier 11 staff, is people don't understand business metrics and financial metrics. And financial metrics are the outgrowth of what you do in marketing. Marketing and sales at the end of the day is about growing businesses. And then that comes back to marketing performance indicators and ultimately business metrics that matter, and not just marketing tactics, and especially the stuff that's inside the apps. Like all of that can be manipulated. And I know you know this obviously extremely well, but like that's going to be a big part of, I think, what we're talking about here, because that's where we see, where we can at least change some minds here on this show here, on the other ways in which we're distributing content to help people think differently about how to market businesses or their business.
Yeah. And it's funny too, is a lot of the people that are watching right now, a lot of them they're digital marketers, but they're media buyers and creative teams heavy. And some of the things that I wanted that we'll be discussing too is traffic is actually last. Traffic is the test as to which your business is then put to the test with the organic ecosystem, which is commerce in the world. I mean, it's the simplest way to put it. And a lot of times, like I know, Dave, you have a question here that we're going to get to in a moment, but some of the things that end up happening is it's not necessarily always like a traffic problem. And this is where I think that it's like, okay, my business is failing, or my client is failing, or my account is failing. It must be a bidding strategy. Like perhaps we're probably maybe three steps later in the journey than what we should be investigating and examining. And all of those are what the kind of the business metrics go over. If for example, if your gross profit can't even support paid media, you don't scale to try to, fix it, or you don't necessarily change, the level of aggressiveness. Like this may be a never ending kind of like wild goose chase, where we have to maybe look at, adjusting pricing or value or, something like that first. So traffic, and that's what we're going to be kind of talking about is, yes, this is obviously very advanced traffic strategies. However, you can't have a failing business and then throw people at it. Like if you have a store and you're 10% higher in pricing than the store next to you, you don't send out more postcards. That's the thing that we have to look at is business metrics, business health, in both marketing and even just operations. If you can't get inventory, if you can't ship out quickly, if your shipping is, $30 to ship out a $20 item when it's free on Amazon next day, like, yeah, you're not a traffic problem yet. You're a business problem. So we're going to discuss all that here, and it's going to be great.
Yeah, no, it's great. It's great. You said it, I think, I forget which call it was. It's like, I think it was one of our client calls, and they were asking, why aren't you scaling up the campaigns? And you're like, well, I'm not scaling up the campaigns because you're actually losing money on that product. If I scale up a campaign, I am going to, because that's a traffic question, right? If I scale it up, I just help you go out of business faster.
Yeah, that's why I said I'm a hired hitman. You pay me to kill your company.
Right. Like agencies don't think that way. Traffic people don't think that way. I mean, we have a podcast called Perpetual Traffic. We're going to change the name, by the way, just FYI, because traffic, like you said, is sort of the least important and probably the easiest component. I mean, there's subtleties obviously to it, though. At your level, it's not easy. And I think we'll get into that. But the overarching theme here is about growing businesses, not just like growing traffic.
Right.
And looking good from a marketing KPI standpoint. It's about looking deeper And that's, I think, where the big differentiator are. That's where the marketing consultants and agencies, if they're focusing on that, that's where the puck is heading, because I think businesses now have zero tolerance.
Oh my God. You made the exact point. And sorry to jump in, but that's exactly kind of where my mind was going. Is the people watching here, a lot of them are media buyers. Not to say that we're digital marketers. Media buyers, digital marketers, traffic, whatever it is, it's all under the same kind of umbrella of a paid media channel. That's why you're here. That's why you're joining. That's usually the type of people I'm following. What we'll be going over is, before you go to the habit of reaction, client's upset, maybe I change a bidding strategy. Client's upset, maybe I change the ad. Client is upset, maybe I change the keyword structure. What we're going to be doing is upper leveling your thought process and bringing it back to a human reality, because everybody on this call, I guarantee it, everybody on this call has been the third agency that's been fired by that company. You know, or the fourth or the fifth, or you take on a client and you get a red flag and you get nervousness in your mind and your gut starts to turn because they said, well, you're the fifth agency. What are you going to do differently? It's like, well, when Google and Meta fail 5 times in a row, is it Meta or Google? Maybe it's not the problem yet. And you're like, you know what? I have a better strategy. And then you drive traffic to a failing entity. And then, you get fired. So it's almost like the way that I've been successful in agency life and career life has always been, well, before we drive traffic, let's build the foundation first. And it goes back 10 years in digital marketing, which is, a billion years in tech land. But that's the part where we look at the structure first. And I had an old client reach out and said, hey, since we talked, everything's been getting worse. Can you take a look at Google? I'm like, no, I can't take a look at Google. I'm like, what are you? And like, well, we're taking people that have a very specific use case and we want to grow it. And that use case that they're looking to solve is not what we offer, but we're like, explain to them why. And it's like, well, you're going to take an inbound one-time click for that to say, here's what you want. What about that instead? And if they kind of have an interruption in their mind, they don't quite understand it. Maybe they don't think that's what they're looking for. We haven't done a good job of convincing them and they leave. We're like, well, try again, bring more in. And that's where we have to look at this is an ecosystem of the way that people buy. And there's been very little time, especially in the last 10 years. Have you ever just looked at something one time on one ad and said, yeah, that's it for me, and buy it? That's 1% of any available market. 1% of any available market will buy right now. And so
I think you said like best case scenario, maybe 2%,
maybe 2%.
It's 1% at most. Like,
inbound
what do you do with the other? Yeah. What do you do with the other 99, 98%? And that's what people don't get.
Exactly. Inbound search is like, hey, I got a 2% conversion rate. I mean, you've all lived it. You've all seen it. Everyone's kind of ignored it sometimes, though, where it's like, I got 2% conversion rate on my inbound search. That's the 2% of the market that's ready to buy. The other 98 need a lot more love. And so it's not just like, change the bidding strategy. It's like, you're not going to change a market. No one woke up that one day and be like, holy shit, I got to buy those shoes. They're on T-ROAS now. Those are the things we'll be going. So I'm ready to dive in. Like, let's get going. This is good. Because then we're going to do Q&A at the end. Throw your questions in here. Everyone just load it up. If you're familiar, what we're going to be doing is going kind of like, not rapid fire where you're going to get like a lax answer. It's going to be, we'll go through it in some depth, but we want to share some stuff. We have a case study that I want to share that is around this same lines. It's going to cover attribution, war of attention, frequency inside of Meta, which is what normally people think is standard and what is actually happening now in the last 5 years that we need to readjust for. So I'll kind of dive in if you're good, Ralph.
Let's do it.
Cool.
Let's do it. Are you going to do a screen share?
I'm going to do a screen share.
Screen shares. It's like, it's the best.
It's the only way I talk. I know. It also really, really, really helps my what was it called? My imposter syndrome. So I was like, see, it's real.
It's real. That's right. And sometimes you get like a screen share ban on some of our L10s. I'm like, no, let you screen share.
I know. And then I just don't talk for the rest of the time because I'm like, I don't know how to explain this. My brain works too fast. So I'll share with you kind of a structure that I think is working, but it's really, really, really cool to see. So I have a screen share presentation. This is a company that I've been working with for some time. And I'll share with you what has happened. So I'm going to present. Let's do this here. don't share these tips again. There we go. All right. It's about to launch and perfect. Do you see this here? All right.
I do
So
now.
I'm going to kind of go through like a little bit of use case. So inside of here, what you'll notice is that there was kind of this downtrend. There was a downtrend here, and then kind of a, the traffic though was kind of, not too bad. But it was hitting, some kind of downtrends here up until about the 13th. Even AOV was kind of on a downward trend here. Or if you take like kind of like the middle point, there's on a downward trend here. So things were getting worse. Like it's definitely not heading in the right direction. And at the same time, Meta and Google are spending more and more and more. And I like the back end because this is what a client's going to fire you off of, by the way. This is the only thing a client's going to fire you. You can show a 10x ROAS to a failing company. You're still getting fired. So I like to look at a few different things. And there was actually a comment from Stu EP. Sorry if I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. I'm really bad at this and bad at names. So I'll just call you Stu. But Stu says, anything on regression testing and incrementality testing, that is actually this here. This is, you're going to see 3 different sources of truth, and then you're going to see the top line, and then you're going to see how it's all correlated together. But there's multiple sources of truth, and each one are saying something different. So in regression analysis, this is something that takes kind of a scientific approach by saying, there's too many variables that are heading in the right direction and proven by the top line for this not to be the case. So we're going to go through that here. You'll see kind of a then an uptick. And so the store sessions though continue to drop. And then you'll kind of see a little more of a leveling off here and a little bit of an uptick in the orders. And then you kind of see AOV start to pop up here a little bit. What ended up happening is,
by the way, we are in the back end of Shopify here. We
Back
are
end
not
of Shopify.
in platform. Okay. Just to show that. Okay.
That was a downtrend and then the uptick. So that's the sole source of truth right now. The client backend or the account backend of the actual revenue that's in the bank account is the sole source of truth.
But I just want to point that out.
Yeah.
Like that unto itself is exactly what we're talking about here.
Mm-hmm.
Like you didn't go into app to start this conversation. You went into the back end, which is the source of truth, which that unto itself is like where you should always start in most cases. Like, because this tells you the business health. This is the actual stuff that's happening in the business.
Yeah,
so
this is exactly
I'm stating an obvious point, but I just want to make sure the audience understands that. So go ahead.
Well, yeah, it's every business owner out there looks, they wake up one day and they look at their revenue or they look at the lead flow. And that's what they make their decisions off of. There's nothing you can convince a person in the world by saying, yes, you're losing money, but trust me, things are good. A business owner client has gotten to a point where that was not the case, and that's why you're here. Is things started to get worse, and you're actually there to make things better. So here's what's interesting: is we made some changes only in Meta. The changes that we made were in Meta, and it's actually opposite of what people believe and what people think, and basically what has now been kind of standard for the last 2 years. We reversed a lot of that, and I'll kind of share with you how this whole thing came together. It's kind of cool. So we started to see a trend reverse now. This is just the last 6 days. Things are now all of a sudden 38% better. This is the before and after in that graph. We just compared the downtrend to now when the changes happened on the 13th. So things started getting better. And what's interesting about this is things started to get better, across the board. Now, this is only a change in Meta, and this is where everyone that runs Performance Max, Advantage Plus, if you're an not email, but if you're running the email, you're going to see an uptick in signups. But you're also, if you're looking at organic traffic flows, all of this is affected. And this is why in-app doesn't make sense. And this is why MPIs rule the NCAC, ROAS, in-platform versus media efficiency ratio, top line, the effective cost per new visit versus just CPC. You're going to see something weird.
Which we will get into all those, by the way. If you'd never heard of an MPI, we're going to get into that. So fear not. Go ahead. I
move way too quickly, so Ralph's here to take my brain and say humanize.
I do a little corralling every once in a while. That's why it works well between the two of us. So
Yep. So the direct traffic got better, the search got better, the social got better, and the unknown got better. Now, the social getting 125 is really cool to see, but it's also because when we started to turn our new strategy on, our social traffic went down 25%. Same with our cost. And we'll get into the in-app here. You're actually going to see our cost, the amount spent going down $5,000. So 41,000 down to 37,000 is down. And this is the trend that we're starting to see, but the overall effectiveness, everything kind of starts to look better. And this is also the loss of attribution but the blended attribution. So what is actually happening here is starting a person on their journey is then going to go off and spider web into 100 or even thousands of different unique paths. And that's what everyone really needs to understand is when you start a person on their journey, they will then go and do whatever the hell they want after that. Even buying on Amazon that you cannot see in-app. You cannot attribute that in a third-party platform.
And you can't control it with a sales funnel. I'm sorry.
You can't control it with a sales funnel. No, you can teach on a sales funnel-esque pre-click.
Sure.
But then post-click, it's just like, man, I really hope that was quality enough for them to continue to purchase. Yeah. So here's what's interesting is this is a third-party application that they use that shows this. During the same date range, this last 7 days here, we're starting to see some oddities. So new visits are down. This is the effective cost per new visit is roughly staying the same, but they're reducing. They're seeing less in Facebook. They're seeing less in Google. But we're also spending less in Facebook. We're also spending less in Google. Everything got better. All the Facebook is up 17% revenue. However, that's odd, right? Because there's 37% less new visits. Things are getting better, but how is the top line getting 30% better, but Meta's only getting 17%? Well, it's click attributed. People then Meta, you're going to have a 10 times the effect per dollar that you're going to have on inbound search, which means that if I put $1 into Meta and that is going to go to 10 people, one will click. You're tracking the one will click, but 10 have been affected. Where the other ones go? Well, they Google the brand name. I don't have to spend any more money because when they Google the brand name originally coming from Facebook, this media efficiency ratio goes up, which increases the top line media efficiency ratio. They're correlated.
John, you need to scale up your Google spend.
Right. You can't pull 20% out and get 35% better by only changing Meta. Yes. So when your Meta people and your Google people are in both corners, duking it out, saying, I'm better and I'm better, you have no idea that Meta just handed maybe Google a golden apple and Google has no idea, but then pats themselves on the back and the client say Meta sucks. It's so weird how everything blends together. The paths that these people are going down are immense. Now, here's where I have to bring this back to reality because it's like, well, John, this tool is great. The other attribution tool is amazing. The other attribution tool is great. Obviously, all of a sudden, people that are buying on Amazon are just like going up the spend that is heavy brand on Amazon. All of a sudden, spent 100% more at a 7x return. Like all of this is happening here. Why isn't this accurate? And it's because of the loss of attribution. When I say the loss of attribution, I'm going to use paint because I'm a 5-year-old and I think about it on visual. When there's
the
2
only
points
person
in time,
I know that use MS Paint. By the way.
I know. I used to make little stick figures when I was 5 and I just never grew out of it. When the time here between the point of the interest in the first click is close to the point of conversion, attribution's healthy. This may be only 1 to 2 clicks, maybe 3 clicks, but over the course of 24 hours. Right. However, when you have a point in time where a person has started their journey on day 1, and then 8 days later, they then convert over here.
These are the most beautiful graphics I've ever seen.
I know, right?
This is amazing.
I'm going to probably make this into a bumper sticker.
I think you
should. When this is 2 or 3 days and this is 10 days, in reality, this is the point that is happening in actuality. And this is the point that they're converting. But then third-party attribution, even first-party attribution, even server side is still going to apply this here.
Yep.
They're still going to only be able to track this, which means I'm only really going to be able to see the last 4 and 5 clicks. You change device, change Wi-Fi connections, you change IP addresses, you saw a Meta ad while you're in line at Starbucks, and then you pulled out your laptop at home and Googled the brand. We all do this. You do this. You have done this. No one clicks on YouTube ads, but you buy shit because you saw it on YouTube. 100%. But that's what we're seeing here. And this is why the metrics are very important. When you start a person on their journey the correct way, and then all these people spider web into all these different ways that they're going to come back and then sign up for an email and Google the brand and hit your website directly, and then maybe hit a remarketing ad. And then when you start tracking them again over here, nothing matches up.
Yeah.
Because
you lose them in that messy middle.
We lose them. And the only thing that you can count on is I can probably pick up the last 3 to 4 clicks before the purchase, not all of the first clicks over here. So this is where we pick them up. We pick them up 3/4 of the way through the journey. And what those people have done is they've already found out what the product is. They like it. They said, can I get a free tomorrow on Amazon? Yep. Boop. Amazon pops up.
Yeah.
YouTube goes warm, just like Meta goes warm, just like how actually inbound search goes warm. Mm-hmm. You're going to hear a statistic that's going to probably make you say, I don't believe that, but I have about 4 independent studies that show this in 4 independent data points that are really expensive to show that's actually true. Your inbound traffic using automated bidding on non-brand search and shopping, 60% cold, 40% have already been there. Why? Well, when you use a T-ROAS, the way that Google predicts the availability of a sale coming from that user, one of the main reasons they use is, have they been to your site before and are they still searching? Mm-hmm. Remember RLSA, everybody? Go back 5 years ago. RLSA, remarketing list for search ads. Remember how that was like creme de la creme? They built that in. But now they charge you 3 times as much for it rather than you bidding 80% down. Right. So that's what's actually happening. And so everything's going to go warm. Your inbound search, inbound shopping on non-brands going warm. YouTube says, oh my gosh, I have a whole bunch of new people to start to go after. So I bring only 1.6 new visits, but I'm 43% better. Mm-hmm. Why? Well, it's because it's also hopping and taking credit. Google Ads says, great, I got a bunch of people on inbound non-brand and inbound brand that have heard about me from Facebook. And then Facebook starts the journey, but because this one in the MS Paint is all the way over on the left-hand side, it doesn't get that much credit for it.
Right. Right. It gets hosed. I mean, it'll try to take the credit, mm-hmm. But it's a 7-day conversion window, maybe 28 if you're smart, or, if you're doing offline conversions, perhaps 90. But in most cases, it's just 7 and it's click attributed, or you get a bunch of view through conversions on Meta, which confuses the matter even more so, unless you break out those 2 things. In your MS Paint diagram, though, which is a brilliant diagram. I'm going to make it my screensaver, I think, on my laptop. Really, if it's the shorter one, I look at pricing and consideration there's an inverse relationship, or really more directly, the lower the price of your product, the less consideration, the narrower that window, just as a general rule. Buying a car is a large purchase, or buying a steel building, for example, which we have examples of that, is a larger consideration purchase. So therefore, the last click is going to be even more challenging with those larger consideration purchases in most cases. Would you agree with that logic, or are there always exceptions to the rule?
There's always exceptions to the rule, but no, I would agree with that. I would say that's accurate. And what's funny about this is the reason why a lot of companies or agencies or freelancers can't scale is actually only based on the way that they measure. Because most of the time, your 80% of your metrics are coming from a click attributed source. Big companies don't do that. They know. Big companies will sponsor a baseball team for car insurance. Yep. Big money is not stupid. It works. They know it works.
Big companies are big for a reason, right?
Right. They're not dumb. They're not frivolous spenders. They're publicly traded. That baseball sponsorship has to attribute to their bottom line, and they know it does. So when you're looking at non-click attributed, that's how you scale. TV commercials, streaming, video ads on Meta, video ads on YouTube. Think about Dr. Squatch soap. They did a media blitz. They didn't measure in-app. Like, oh, YouTube must not work. Everyone knows about them because of YouTube. Right. And so I never clicked on that ad. Did you?
No.
I know who they are. I've seen them now. And I'm like, oh, I remember that. That was a really cool guy. I remember the guy in the woods, getting chased by Bigfoot. Like, yeah, great.
I've bought hundreds of dollars of that soap because my son loves it and his room stinks of that crap. Yeah. It's good stuff. But I mean, there's one soap in particular that is particularly offensive. But anyway, yes. I am an absolute victim of that. I have never clicked on it. I've only gone to their site. I Googled them and I bought it for him for Christmas 2 years ago. Great example.
And here, the reason why is the same thing that we did with Meta. We didn't just change an ad. We restructured. And when I say we restructured, what we do and what I believe you all do when you measure click attributed, when you measure the way that it is specifically in app, and you're not necessarily looking at the ripple effect and the halo effect and the blended effect that those ads are having, this is what I want everyone to reflect on this week. and this is, take this really seriously. It's not a buzzword. It's something that I truly believe that this industry as a whole is missing, and this is what we're transforming. Is, am I generating demand, or am I capturing demand? Am I generating demand, or am I capturing demand? Inbound search captures demand. Outbound channels that are not focused on click attributed is generating demand. Watch this. This is the entirety of what we do.
You said this the other day as you're getting your screen share ready. It's the difference between knowing demand generation versus demand capture.
Exactly. And you can see in
and they're
app,
not one and the same.
No, they are not. Demand generation scales. Demand capture hits points of diminishing return that people think must be the bidding strategy or the keyword. It's not.
And
demand
it's unscalable, right? Because it's the last click. It's the zero moment of truth. It's the last 3 or 4 clicks. And everyone says, all right, scale that shit up.
Even outbound, though. So here's what Advantage Plus is: demand capture, not demand generation for the most part.
Right.
Advantage Plus says, I know that Ralph has engaged with an ad about, Ralph has engaged with an ad on these hex keys. These are Allen keys. This is a tool. Ralph is interested in these tools.
I would never buy that, by the way. I don't do any work around my house anymore. But anyway, go ahead.
I do digital markets. So it's like most tools I own. I think I put together like a shelf.
I got a paper cut the other day though, because I moved paper across my desk. By the way, that was like a big deal. Oh yeah, that's horrible.
As a person who types for a living, that's a debilitating injury.
I filed disability with Tier 11 for it.
I was gonna say, yeah, you can. Now you get a handicap spot.
Yeah, I know, it's true.
So Ralph is clicked on these or looked at, not even clicked on or even clicked on, but you looked at Allen keys. So, hey, Lowe's, Home Depot, Ace Hardware, you want to capture some demand? We're going to go after Ralph too. That's what Advantage Plus does, is it uses external signals inside of its ecosystem to understand the other advertisers that will pay you to then also go after Ralph. That is not demand generation. Ralph didn't say, you know what? I think I need some Allen keys. Ralph said, hey, I need some Allen keys. And everyone dogpiled on top of Ralph. And we're all fighting over Ralph. And that's why you see CPM spike up. That's why you see CPC spike up. When you're looking at smart bidding, you're looking at 100 available people. Google knows 10 are ready to buy. Everybody on smart bidding fights over those 10. And whomever has the lowest T-ROAS goal or the highest TCPA goal earns more of that at a high cost. Yep. You want 2 people, cost you $2 each. You want 4? Well, shit, I only have a limited supply. You want 4 people? I'll charge you double for that. And then you get 4 people, you pay double, and that's why you're not profitable. So that's the difference between demand generation and demand capture. Watch this. This case study here. The first 2 days, 13th and 14th.
And everyone thinks you're a Google guy, but you're in Meta right now. Hold on. Stop the presses.
I know.
John's become really like a Meta aficionado since coming over to Tier 11. So anyway.
I love Meta because I can apply all the stuff that I used to do in YouTube into Meta. I'm like, oh, this is like 1-to-1, which is great.
You just have more toys now.
Really. Exactly. It's a lot of fun. Yeah. But this is what demand generation does. And I want everyone to take a look at their marketing stack and say, am I simply set up to scale to people that have already shown interest, or am I the one generating that interest? In the 15th and 16th compared to the 13th and 14th. So the first 2 days compared to the second 2 days. It's very, very simple. It's only been running this is the first few days. You'll see that my amount spent is reducing. I'm pulling back spend. And we can actually see that. You'll see, remember, in this end here, the amount of spend is reducing. I'm driving less and less traffic. Why? Well, it's very expensive to generate demand. But when you start to generate the demand, you you can fairly instantaneously make this way more efficient. So with this client here, when you see the spend reduce, you're also seeing, though, the cost per result reduce. -79, -18. This one went up here because it's on a really expensive $4,000 item that we're doing prospecting for. So that's okay. I'm only going to reduce it down a little bit just to save, media efficiency ratio. But you're seeing a gradual reduction across all of these campaigns. And then you're seeing an increase though in results, 300 and 100 and 100 and 200 and just sold to and sold to. You're seeing an increase now across the board of results. So how are things getting cheaper with more purchases and spending less money? You're generating the demand. How do you do that? I'm glad you asked, John Moran. So when you're looking at the frequency here, the frequency is actually fairly high. When I said that I'm going against what people normally do, a lot of agencies out there are like, well, once you hit 2.2, 2.3 frequency, you're overshowing. You got to pull back. Yes, you're overshowing when you're capturing demand. I'm showing ads to people that have shown signals that they want it, but are not interested in me. Stop going after that. That is a demand capture tactic. The demand
hopefully you're showing them different types of creatives, maybe not the same one. Like the creative might actually say, all right, that's sort of, all right, I'm going to get ahead of you. Go ahead.
No. And I know I'm glad that you're doing that. Sorry. I have this thing in my mind, and so I'm just rolling with it. But what you're seeing right now is 3 different levels of engagement, and you're seeing 3 different levels of engagement that is very, very, very expensive. So when you're looking at your prospecting here, I have a 1.73. This is usually where people just kind of bolt on the remarketing and then call it a day. That is demand capture. Here's the change. When you're looking at prospecting, this is to cold traffic. I am buying the entire haystack, and I'm going to then love on the needles. I'm not going to remarket the needles. The needles haven't clicked yet. I'm going to buy the haystack to generate the demand. That's very expensive, and you don't want a crazy high frequency. You want that around a 2 or close to a 2.
Right.
Then the engagement.
And this is a high consideration purchase. This is an item that's several $1,000s, as I recall.
$4,000.
$4,000. Got it.
$4,000 product, and it's something that you're never going to really want. You're not going to wake up one day and be like, hey, you know that thing that's usually $200? I want to buy a $4,000 one.
So this is true demand generation, because people aren't waking up and saying, hey, I want a $4,000 hammock.
Yep.
Like so maybe very, very, very few, like I want the best hammock in the world kind of thing. And I might Google best hammock in the world and they might find this perhaps, but we're not talking about those people, because those aren't the people that can scale your business.
No, this is a $4,000 hammock, right? Like this actually has failed for a year straight on inbound shopping and inbound search. Failed for a year. We just ended up turning it off. We're like, you know what? It's not worth it. No one's just coming in and be like, oh my God, yeah, a $4,000 hammock. Sure, I'll buy it. Like that doesn't happen. Right. That's what demand capture is. There is no demand for it.
Yeah.
So when you're doing demand generation, exactly. Yeah. You have to sell it. And I'll say something here right after I give this level 1, 2, 3 at the end. That's going to make you think, well, all right, shit, that's just common sense. It's actually kind of cool. It'll click in your mind. So 1.73 buys all the people that I'm thinking that are interested. And my interest targets are like really high. Like, do you have an interest in hammocks? Like it's really, really targeted. Not just necessarily like, hey, do you like camping? Like that's good. But I'm not gonna be like, do you like camping? When a $4,000 hammock? Too big a leap. So what I'm doing right now is I'm going after age. I'm going after kind of income. I'm going after high quality interests and intentions, but I'm going to say I need to buy those users. And then there's something called a level 2 engagement. Now I'll share with you something cool. This L1 prospecting has the exclusions of never been to my website, never been to my pages, never bought anything ever, never heard of me, never seen me, never interact with that. You have never heard of me ever in the history of the world. And I'm going to spend the most amount of money there.
Yep. That's
prospect. That's how you grow. So then the next thing on the engagement here, you're still never bought anything from me, never been to my website, never engaged. You're never done anything. You still have never actually been to any one of my digital properties or my assets, but are you engaging with my L1? So this is something where it's like, hey, did you show an interest in that first ad that I showed you? Like, yeah, I liked it. I watched 25% of it. I commented. I shared it with a friend, but I didn't click on the ad. I never made it to your website. And this is where people fail. It's highly ignorant. It's a lie everyone believes in this industry. And the lie is everyone that would ever want to buy anything ever can be converted in can earn that click. They can get to my website 1.73 times. That is a falsehood that you are lying to yourself.
Never fucking going to happen.
Holy shit. Everyone has always clicked on an ad on something they're slightly interested in the first time. No. Never in the history of the world has that happened.
Unless it's an impulse buy. I used to sell a lot of impulse buys off Facebook way back when. $7 items, $5 items, $3 stuff. those are probably the exceptions. I haven't seen it recently. No, like you can't really sustain an advertising campaign with a $7 product unless you have really good upsell paths. But yes, to your point here. And just to clarify, so these L2 engagement audiences are basically people who have watched a percentage of your video at the L1 stage. That's your engagement. What I assume you said that, but also who else is in that audience there, just so people can kind of understand this, because you are reverse engineering a bit, sort of the demand generation side of it, knowing full well your first engagement, your first video view of this hammock, which is $4,000, ain't going to get you to buy. Nope. Unless you're that 1% or less than 1%. I'm going to say it's less than 1% because of this purchase is a $4,000 item.
Yep.
So what is that? So if like you think about like your prospect, this is the key. And we've got a lot of questions here, which we do want to get to, by the way. Yep. So hold off on that.
Left on this.
Yeah, we're gonna get to you guys. But like this is really, really important to understand. Is you have to put your situation, like this is the thing that you do so well, is like you put yourself in the shoes of the buyer. I'm not going to buy a $4,000 hammock because I see it once, right? But I'm going to reverse engineer, or maybe 1.73 times. I don't know what a 7.3 view is, but anyway, maybe it's a 17% video view as opposed to a 25% video view. I don't know. The point
some will be two, some will be one.
Thereabouts. So the point is that like this is a really important thing to think about for your product or service, and don't expect one click and you're done, zero moment of truth ever on a product unless you have an impulse buy.
Right.
Is that a safe thing to assume?
It's exactly right. And that's the thing. And what you're doing is you're capturing the people who are saying, that's pretty cool. But they didn't click. Most people don't click, but they say that's pretty cool. Yeah. And what that means is that they watched 25% of my ad or my 12 ads in L1. And I'm only going to engage them for the next 30 days because the sales cycle is 27 days on average. Once you're past 30 days, I'm not earning that click. And I'm not going to overshow.
Another thing you brought out, like you know what the sales cycle is for this product. And that's why that's 30 days as opposed to 45 days, 60 days, 90 days.
Exactly. Yep.
What's your sales cycle? So at other MPIs, which we'll get into, I guess, in next shows, because I don't think we're going to get to it. With
we got a whole bunch of good ones.
Oh, yeah. But the point is like that insight right there is a brilliant insight.
Yep.
Because you're making an educated decision, putting together an engagement audience based upon the knowledge of the business, not you as the marketer.
And saying you've never been to you're excluding the purchasers and site visitors for the last 6 months. And this isn't just people interacting with my ads. No, you need to watch 25% of the ad that I'm currently showing, because as I scale, I can scale this model.
Yep.
Then lastly is your typical, remarketing campaign. But what you're going to see is the frequency is like a 2, a 4, and a 10. Yeah. Now that's different than a lower price product, which is a 1.5, a 3, and an 8. This is still a $400 product. This one is a $200 product. So you see a 1 and a 4 and an 8. But what I'm doing is I am getting at least a 12, 13, 14 frequency on you, because this is the exact way that everyone has sold since the dawn of time. Yeah. If you're at a show, and if you're sitting in a booth and someone walks by and says, "Hey, what do you do?" Right now, a lot of marketers just like, "We sell Allen keys, 25% off." Thanks. And then
I'm not really in the market.
Then they say no thanks, and 0.73 are like, "Are you sure?" It's like, "No, it's okay." And they're like, "Well, damn, on to the next one."
Yep.
So now this is like it's different. The different types of creative is like they're hanging out and be like, to walk up to your booth and say, "Hey, what do you do?" Be like, "This is the last Allen key set that you'll ever need in your life. It's guaranteed."
Right.
What do you mean? Well, do you see how they're actually made of tungsten carbide? It's much different than the other ones. This actually has a holder that these do not fall out, and no more lost tools. You'll never have to buy another one. If you do, they're guaranteed for life. They have this black plastic coating that actually doesn't scratch. It doesn't blah, 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 blah. And this is your engagement. They say, "Okay, that's pretty cool. Let me see those." And they pick it up. That's the click. They've clicked on your ad now. They say, "Wow, these are actually pretty cool. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and think about these, and I'm just going to walk away from it." And now 9 more times, I'm like, "Do you remember how they have the really good plastic coat?" And now I'm selling you after you left 10 more times. And then after 12 days, though, when you're gone, I'm done.
Yeah. You're sounding like an infomercial, by the way. But that's what infomercials do.
Yeah, right. The infomercials generate demand. You're not sitting up at 2 o'clock in the morning and be like, "Damn, I'm really glad I saw that like rotisserie baster while I'm halfway drunk, because I was really looking for that." No.
Right. Like the Bell and Howell outdoor lighting system. Like, but
it takes an hour.
I know. It's like it takes an hour, but then they compress it down. Like if you're a real marketer, like those types of direct response commercials are some of the best commercials that there are because they understand, they generate the demand. I didn't want the Bell and Howell light, but you know what? I went out and bought one because I didn't know that there was such a thing that could actually light, because I have a problem with, the backlighting of my backyard, and we've got like deer that come in and like eat all of our roses and all these other sorts of things. And now I'm like, holy shit, now I have this thing that I never knew that I needed. That's demand generation. Right. And then at the end of the day, like those compress that demand generation into demand capture. I might have to see the commercial a couple of times, which is demand, but ultimately like those are great examples.
What's nice about this is this is what marketers are doing right now in their mind. They say, okay, I can do the same thing as an infomercial by doing a commercial. They took an hour to generate demand. You're saying, no, I could do that in 30 seconds. And that is when you see the demand generation versus demand capture. Inside of here, like, can you see the screen still?
No.
Share screen. This is the last point I'm going to make. There we go. This right now, I have 42 ads going right now. I have 42 ads at once between 3 categories.
And this is all demand generation. This is all L1.
This is L1, L2, and L3, and there's different variations. We don't have time to go through it, but what basically this is, I'm using old ads back from 2023 that I liked to restructure this. It doesn't have to be brand new ads. It just needs to be diversified. You need different hooks, different sales pitches. So that's what I'm doing right now is I'm running 42 ads when they used to run 5. That was demand capture with 5 ads. Demand generation, 42. I'm going to tell you everything. So we won't get into it. I want to do some Q&A. I want to have the time for that. But long story short, the introduction is high sizzle. The engagement is high stake. It's the why, the how, and all the unique values and unique selling proposition. And then the remarketing is things like, you have some scarcity, you have maybe some incentives depending upon what you're doing. And then you have a little bit more of like that UGC and like, trust me, you're making the right decision type of content. So all of that has to blend together, but it has to be delivered in the right way for a logical sequence to a sale to exist. And that is how you generate demand. If you throw up a PMAX campaign, or if you throw up a Advantage Plus campaign, it gets a 1.8 and you just hang out and you can scale to the available market is hit because you've captured all the demand. That's when you come to me and you say, is it a bidding strategy? No. Get different thinking in there.
Yeah.
Let's do Q&A.
Let's do Q&A. So this is just a sample of what we're going to be talking about every Friday. I can't tell you how excited I am to just be doing this. Like, this is just, this is great stuff. So Dave Ashley has been waiting quite some time.
I know. All right.
A couple of answers. I know he's a big John Moran fan, so we're going to hit him first.
Yep. So he says,
you can see the comments, correct?
There we are. Have you ever got PMAX to work for local businesses? Spam problems. And if not, what other traffic sources have you found works well outside of search and LSA? So I, to this date, to the history of the world, have never been able to make PMAX actually work. It is always within 6 to 8 months collapsed in on itself because all of the demand that it has generated ends up going into only demand capture and waits there because it's only measuring by in-app ROAS. My opinion on local, I've switched a lot of them over to actually just good old-fashioned inbound search, or actually even, LSA, local service ads, works well. Layer those two together where you have high-quality keywords and search intent on search. LSA as kind of just your generic one that you're having good performance on because it's generating some calls, maybe not the right calls, but you're not putting too much money in there. But PMAX locally did work until the point where it has a bell curve. It's like got really good and then collapsed on itself. The people that are coming back to the actual physical location in store are being duplicate counted because it didn't identify that person was also the person that was there last week. So those things, all of a sudden, store visits just start skyrocketing. I had store visits go up 800%. The guy's like, they're still the same 100 people. I know because I've been in business 25 years. These are the same patrons at my restaurant. I'm like, okay, never mind. So checking actually an app. So I would say that yes, PMAX can work, but it will start to fail when it sees better and better and better performance because it tries to remarket to those people. If you don't have a remarketable service like a podiatrist, maybe you don't really want to keep marketing to the person that's getting a foot surgery. That's where things go bad. So I would say that, no, my opinion, high quality, high position, inbound search for local, it still has the longest history and longest shelf life.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's get to, I don't know if you addressed Stu EP's, he had a couple of questions here, regression analysis as well as incrementality testing. We kind of touched on that
A little bit of that, yeah.
bit, but yeah, maybe we can go into that a little bit more.
Aggression analysis, I do more of the tools that I can manipulate. I have some pretty cool, unique tools on the back end that I use. They're not really ready yet for public consumption, but there is 2 other sources that I'm using to identify pre-click and post-click engagement in even offsite purchases. But so I'll be able to kind of do like a whole segment on that because it is really cool. But this is a variation of it. The incrementality testing, what if we only restructured Meta? How would that affect the overall account? The regression testing is multiple sources of truth. Meta said things got a little bit better. Backend got a lot better. The third-party attribution said nothing in that channel got better. So you take your social source of truth, but your MPIs, your top line KPIs that you're watching, those are where everything lives and dies.
Yeah. Yeah. And we will have a download for MPIs, by the way. So we can actually push that because we created one for Perpetual Traffic. It's not ready for prime time. It's going to be ready on Tuesday. So it'll be ready for next Friday to sort of tease next Friday's show a bit. So, all right.
Ralph's doing the infomercial. But wait, there's more.
But wait, there is more. I got Ollie Leeboy on today's show.
Hey, Ollie.
That dude's a stud. We've got, I'm going to completely, butcher this name here.
Mr. or Mrs. Garg.
Garg? Do you know this individual? What T-ROAS for a shopping campaign and when and how to change T-ROAS?
Yes. So a T-ROAS, I would say if we're not sure, if we haven't done everything that we're looking at today, it sounds like we're doing definitely some more demand capture. I would say start it off at a 100% T-ROAS and look at your AOV versus your in-app CPA. That will tell you if when you lose 50% of that attribution in that platform, if you're getting about a 2x in platform, you're probably getting like a 3.5, 4x top line media efficiency ratio from that campaign. Start at 100%. It leaves it to be aggressive. It leaves it to test, still limits the CPC while you're testing. Or if you wanted to, in my opinion, you can always do max clicks and kind of see where your positioning lands, what type of search terms there are, because you're actually going to get a better search term with a higher CPC, but you don't have to leave it up to Google just to be like, hey, get stupid aggressive right off the bat. So if you want to be more methodical, lower budget, start max clicks, then move into T-ROAS when you have some performance. Or if you're like, hey, we just got to get this thing up now, slightly aggressive, we need to get this T-ROAS 100% fairly aggressive.
Got it. All right, cool. We're going to get through these like super quick here.
Yeah.
Michelle Vermeulen. I'm totally butchering.
We're just going to probably just share this. You got an avatar there.
Just show it, forget it. Thank you for Daniel for showing it, for saving me on this. I run ads for European bike company. Most sales are that they use chat and then get an offer via email. Good as no conversions in GA. Feeling like driving blind. Just installed Triple Whale. Any tips? Well, switch over to Wicked Reports first off. Secondly, John is going to answer that question because Scott DeGracier is on today's call, so we're going to give a Wicked plug. This is a tough one, actually. Interested in your answer here.
Yep. So what I would do is I would measure in-app of the chats, but I would also do a little bit of legwork. My opinion is chats right now from an automated conversion tracking is a poor leading indicator. What this means is that you can still measure in-app chats, like chats started. You can use a JavaScript execution, get a good person who does web development. They can launch that event even through GA4 of chat started. What I would highly suggest is if you do have chats that have then come to fruition, is you take those chats that are connected to that person that purchased. You need to have that referring URL. You need the G-CLID, you need the G-braid, or you need the W-braid, but you want to pipe those back into that app platform, Google, for example. So you see where chat started and then quality chat, or chat started, another secondary conversion action of completed chat, which would be, some sort of revenue. But I would take the G-CLID from the referring URL, or G-braid or W-braid from that referring URL that started that chat. When it goes into the CRM as a closed deal, you're going to have that referral URL there. That is then uploaded as an offline conversion action. So you can see where the highest amount have started and the highest amount have ended. And that's what you can use to adjust your budget, your bids, your bidding strategy, your keywords, etc.
I don't know.
Skip Triple Whale and then go into Wicked.
There you go. Scott, there's your plug right there, buddy. I don't know anybody who could answer that question in like 37 seconds or less, which is exactly what you did. I'm very, very proud and impressed at the same time. All right, here's the next one. Arthur McClellan says, if we could get the question up there. Apparently, I can't.
Do we skip Rashna?
Oh, damn, we missed Rashna. Rashna. Oh my God, I didn't even see you there. We love Rashna. The lovely and talented Rashna from Tier 11. She has a question. How would you ensure that we make the best of the peak season once a year, especially if the business is on an upward trend and the entire traffic comes from Google? Top 3 tricks to make the best.
Yep. So I would look at the sales cycle and start about a week before that of actually scaling up. And I would actually purposely trying to get a little more aggressive. So for inside of Google, we're looking at kind of people who are searching for something. I'm imagining our click share and our absolute top IS and top IS search and price share and absolute top search and price share are not maxed out, which means we can't afford to have more people and at a better positioning. So we'll need to increase our CPC either by doing it manually or adjusting our TCPA higher, our TROAS lower. Start that a week before the average sales cycle, because what we're going to do is now we're going to try to capture demand that is coming in before it goes to someone else, that someone else has started their journey. So if we're looking at right before peak season, we know that those searches, we want to be number one immediately. We want to be first considered and we want to stay there as much as possible so that when people are continuing their search or they're coming back, our automated bidding strategy says, we know that Ralph has already been here. He was a week ago starting a search. He's still Googling non-brand or brand keywords. We need to bid higher for that person via RLSA automatically through smart bidding. And then that will keep our position high to say, you know what, I keep seeing these people. These are people that I'm considering. I'm thinking about buying from here. We got to start that in their sales process. And then I would highly recommend heavy remarketing on both Meta and YouTube to keep us top of mind through their journey. When I say heavy, I mean high frequency, but only keep it about 20 to 25% of the overall budget.
Sweet.
So
we've got so good. So you might want to thank God this is recorded. You can watch that again. You can, Rashna, you can watch that on half speed. I believe now on YouTube. So Stu EP thanks us for mentioning him. We did answer his question. That's cool. Let's see. Dave Ashley has a couple other questions. Scott is here. Daniel Giordano. All right, here we go. When budgets are tight, how do you think through how to allocate away from demand capture to demand generation, especially when it's much harder to validate? This is a really good question.
Yeah. When budgets are tight, it is very, very, very difficult. When budgets are tight, my opinion is actually start.
And you've got somebody breathing down your neck saying, "Don't spend too much, you bastard, or else you're getting fired." You know.
Yeah. I would actually start with demand capture, honestly. And here's the reason why: is there is 1 to 2% of the available market that's ready to buy today. If, in my opinion, if you cannot win with demand capture, there's something intrinsically wrong with the business. It's saying like, I'm looking for these Allen keys. I saw yours. I clicked on yours. I went to your website. I did it 2 or 3 times. I still don't want it. You're not scaling there. What the problem is right now is when people are looking for you, if they do not want to buy or do not want to hire, is it price? Is it landing page explanation? Are we not doing a good enough job at presenting the unique selling, unique proposition of that product? Go ahead.
You haven't hit them with the right hook yet, or maybe they're just not going to buy.
Right. Even on inbound shopping, like I have no reason why any of my inbound shoppings would not work when we've identified, is it the right product at the right price to the right audience with the right picture, with the right description, with the right title. Once that's solid, you should be able to make money there. Now, you won't scale it to the moon, but you will make money there. Use that money to reinvest into all of your learnings as to why people are buying from you into demand generation by expanding upon that.
Yeah. Makes sense. Super hard. So sort of start with the bottom of the funnel and then sort of build up from there is what it's sounding like, you know?
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're going to go. I can go a little bit over. Can you go over?
I can go a little bit over. How much time do you have?
I'm 11:01 right now. I'm messaging the person that I have a call with and saying like, hey, I'll be there in like 2 minutes or a few minutes. So let me just do this here. Yeah, sorry. I want to get through these.
I think we can do like maybe 2 more questions. I'm going to read them out and then you can read them as well. Thank you, Daniel, for helping us out with this. Michelle actually says the e-bikes are $4,000. So the yellow leaf hammock example is a great example for that one. So that's very cool. All right. Daniel Giordano says, can an account still scale after it's matured and incremental spend no longer leads to incremental conversions, assuming basic optimizations have been made? What levers would you pull?
Yep. This is again, like, well, let's take that back. And I hate using the buzzwords of the day, but after it's matured and incremental spend and no longer leads to incremental conversions, we have peaked out on that demand capture. I have done a mastermind speech, and I've actually, what you're seeing right now is this exact speech that I just gave. I think like 2 months ago or something like that. But what we're looking at here is This right here would be a optimal traffic segment for scale. Right now, in my opinion, you're kind of
John's screen captures.
right now, you might be kind of in here. Some YouTube, maybe a little bit of meta, some non-brand search and shopping, and that's pretty much it. What we have to look at is, do you have kind of this entire journey? What we're doing is we're saying, do you want this product? Maybe not enough. Are you getting a 12x frequency with 5 different pieces of content in order to generate the understanding of your product? If yes, go back to the drawing board of your company first. Do not just try to scale. And very rarely in my history of my life have I ever found the, oh shit, there was the double sales button. It's not that. It's really not like, oh,
just need to put two calls to action is better than one. Come on, John.
So my here's what you're probably seeing. So this is usually what happens, which is the glass ceiling of diminishing profitable returns misinterpreted by ROAS. I'm not saying you're misinterpreting by ROAS, but basically this is what this means, is that there is a point of diminishing return that a channel can attribute to your overall ecosystem of people's general brand awareness and consideration of your company. Meta does better than Google at scale. YouTube can also be just as high and even higher than Meta sometimes. Like, they're all unique. But if you're pushing on a channel and you're hitting the point of diminishing returns, what you have to think about is, have I pushed equally on every channel to exacerbate the client's customer journey to me, rather than saying, did I maybe start to hit a wall in that channel's particular market of what that channel knows who they think wants to buy from me? Which means Google's like, yeah, I have 75 people that tomorrow I know will buy. The other 800, I don't know. And you're on automated bidding and you're just now not seeing it. I have a really cool tool that I'll kind of share later on that will kind of show this in real deep depth. That's how sometimes your incremental spend just gets blown out on irrelevant traffic because the people that are ready to buy are not actually increasing in incrementality. There's a back end component that's fighting you that can be fixed with good demand generation type of methodology.
Yeah, that's great. That graphic, I think, will be showing that a lot. That basically shows. Yeah, my guess is because there is a lot of uncertainty when it comes to the stuff that we're talking about here. And it's a lot of insights and thinking about the buyer's journey. And I know we're at our time here, but in most cases, when there's no click attributed to it, I'm looking at you, TikTok, YouTube, Meta, you're probably underspending because that's at the very top. That's your demand generation channel. In most cases, because we both know that PMAX is all sort of bottom of the channel, bottom of funnel, like demand capture.
That's like demand remarketing.
Yeah, demand remarketing. So we'll get to that, and how you decipher that is kind of going to be like a big part of this show, because that's where people, I think, really run into problems, because their boss is overlooking their shoulder. Like I was joking about it before. It's like, well, why don't you scale up your Google campaigns? Those are at a 7.8x ROAS. Well, those aren't the ones that are actually creating the demand. They're they're getting the capture, the sale itself. So that's a whole thing that we're going to be talking about on this show here. I think we've gotten to most of the. I do need to get a wig, by the way.
One last thing. And Dylan, it's called Light Shot. One word. It's a Chrome plugin. Light Shot. That's my annotation on my screen.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah. This is great. Yeah. So, by the way, if anyone from Telegram is listening, I am starting to grow out the mullet in the back. I don't quite have the Cosm hair yet, but maybe I'll come on with a wig one day. But this has been awesome, dude.
I'm still
so much fun. Like, I can't wait for the next one.
This is gonna be great. Seriously. Yeah, this is a lot of fun. I love this stuff.
Yeah. So for everyone who participated here today, this is tremendous. Definitely, you can watch the replay over on YouTube. We will post this on the Tier 11 YouTube channel. If you're there already, great. Just watch it again. Watch it at half speed. Rashna, yeah, that's true. I go down to 3/4 speed with John in most cases. So half speed was really good. We're going to be here every Friday.
I was just about to say, last thing, next week, unfortunately, I'm speaking at Affiliate World in Times Square in New York City. So next week, I'm going to unfortunately have to skip. Maybe we'll try to do it a little bit earlier, like right when I get back, we'll try to fill it in. I am speaking there, unfortunately. And that's the part where I'd love doing these weekly, but sometimes like a speaking engagement does get in the way. But I'm going to try to see also if we could do it like from the hotel room. If that works too. So we're going to do as much as we possibly can each week. But yeah, there's going to be just a shit ton of value and content for you all. It's going to be great.
Yeah, I think we're going to be doing this weekly. As far as like what time and date we have to we have to compare our schedules because we literally put this together like yesterday or the day before.
We're like, let's do it tomorrow. Rock on.
Yeah. It's like, all right, StreamYard, let's go. Like, how does that work? All right, we're 4 minutes, 45 seconds over. Thank you so much for your time, John Moran. Obviously, if you want all this stuff done for you, the sales pitches, go over to tier11.com and we will absolutely help you out there. And this is the type of insight that we want to transform an industry because the rest of the world isn't seeing it this way, in my opinion. And this is the difference maker to be able to really scale and grow your business in 2024 and beyond. So thank you, my awesome co-host, John Moran, for coming on. Until next week, we will see you. We'll figure out what day. We will notify you all. Until next week, have an awesome, awesome week.
Thanks, everybody.